Lori Lightfoot made history by becoming Chicago's first black gay female mayor. Last night, after 4 years of incompetence, she made history by becoming Chicago's first mayor in 40 years of any color, either gender, gay or straight, not to win re-election. The top issue was crime. Since her election in 2019, there has been, get this, a 27% increase in robbery, 31% increase in theft, and a 270% increase in motor vehicle thefts. That's not a typo, 270% increase. Since the beginning of her term, Chicago has had 2,278 homicides and over 9,000 people shot. Homicides have reached rates not seen since the 1990s. While the city is about 1/3 black, most of the homicide victims in 2022, more than 3 out of every 4 were black. And of these black homicides, get this, over 70% of the cases go unsolved. In the first 3 weeks of 2023, the city's crime rate is up 61%. Chicago's Magnificent Mile has seen several high-profile stores close up and abandon ship. Stores like Macy's, Old Navy, Banana Republic, Gap, Uniqlo, and Timberland have all closed down. The vacancy rate in the Magnificent Mile is up almost 30%. 6 years ago, according to Craig's, it was under 5%. To combat robberies, Mayor Lightfoot said not to, quote, use money if at all possible, use other forms of transactions to carry out your business. What's next? Laws demanding cash control? Journalist William Kelly said, and I'm quoting him, the policies that really destroyed State Street and Michigan Avenue and the Magnificent Mile were the 1-2 punch of lockdowns, the looting, but also the policies that continue to this day. For someone shoplifting up to $1,000, there are no consequences, end of quote. Indeed, County State Attorney Kim Foxx essentially promised not to prosecute anybody who shoplifted a value of less than $1,000. Shockingly, shoplifting increased. In response, Lightfoot said merchants should lock up their merchandise. In a press conference, she said, quote, we shouldn't be locking up non-violent individuals just because they can't afford to pay bail, end of quote. In 2020, Lightfoot promised to cut $80 million from the police budget, a promise, thankfully, she failed to keep. And her relationship with the media has been, well, let's just say, interesting.
Do you really believe that the criticism of you is 99.9% based on the fact that you're a black woman?
So you said about 15 things, most of which were wrong. Your question, frankly, was insulting.
Will you rescind your violent tweet to call to arms?
No, let him talk. The more he talks, the more stupid he sounds. And if you don't want to abide by those rules, you can take your nonsense someplace else. Because I am about full up with you. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. You will stop speaking. You will stop speaking. You're full of crap. And that's the nicest thing that I can say. If you do not stop, I will ask you to leave, and I will make sure that the police take you out of here. And let me be clear with you. I'm not patting myself on the back. God.
Okay.
You are one of the rudest people I've ever seen.
Your office says that you invited black and brown journalists to this round of interview. Why?
I think in this one day, when we are looking at the 2-year anniversary of my inauguration, as a woman of color, as a lesbian, it's important to me that diversity is put front and center. Sir, just a moment. I'm actually talking, and I'd appreciate if you didn't interrupt me. And you haven't been called on, you know the rules, so you'll get called on when it's your turn.
Hey, dude, don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Back up.
I didn't touch
Back
you.
up. Back up. Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Wow. According to an article in The New Yorker, Susan Sanlowski Garza, a councilwoman who actually helped Lightfoot pass a $15 minimum wage, said about Lightfoot, I have never met anybody who has managed to she used a different word, tick off every single person they come in contact with. Police, fire, teachers, aldermen, businesses, manufacturing, end of quote. And the same article said the police department has more than 1,000 vacancies and that the city is facing a similar challenge in staffing trains and buses and keeping riders safe. She implemented police anti-chase policies. And get this, Lightfoot's campaign sent out an email to public school teachers asking them to ask their students to volunteer for her campaign and that the teachers should give them class credit for doing so. Lightfoot later said it was a mistake and apologized. She battled the teachers union. Wanted schools to reopen after being shut down for nearly a year over COVID. She blasted the teachers union for staging what she called an illegal walkout when they voted to return to online teaching. And of course, out came the race and gender card. She says she's being treated differently because she's a black woman. Lightfoot said, and I'm quoting her, "I remember former Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel appearing on the cover of Time magazine, and headline was basically like, 'Tough guy for Chicago. No woman or woman of color is ever going to get that headline,' end of quote." Wow. Could I get some cheese with that wine? My guest says he's experienced firsthand how soft on crime policies have hurt his hometown. Got a question for you. Are you concerned with stock market volatility?
Markets closing in on their worst year since the financial crisis.
Since 2020, the Dow closed down more than 1,100 points.
Financial markets had their worst day since the start of the pandemic.
Do you really trust this economy?
The U.S. economy could be headed for a recession.
Tonight, the alarming spike in inflation soaring to its highest level in nearly 40 years.
What if you can invest in a portfolio with a high fixed rate of return that's not correlated to the stock market? Well, you can turn your monthly income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose, and get this, there is no loss of principal if you need your money back, and absolutely no fees. Just log on to investwhyrefi.com. Folks, I personally invest with my own money with YRefi. So log on to investwhyrefi.com or call 888-YREFI24. That's 888-YREFI24. Please welcome Executive Director of Concerned Communities for America, Daquan Bruce. Daquan, thank you for coming on. Daquan, this gender and race card is getting pretty old.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that, Chicago took a stance and, voted her out. It was such a great feeling to go to bed knowing that she would be no longer in the mayor's seat, come this April. However, this is a mayor who, when she didn't have an adequate answer for her reckless and oftentimes incompetent actions, would turn to violent accusations, threats, even, very inappropriate comments about individuals with whom she's supposed to be working with, and even, using the race card, to try to shield and deter the criticism based upon her lack of leadership. And this election was a referendum on crime and an indictment on her leadership. The people of Chicago were tired, sick and tired of her continually deflecting the situation, choosing to support national issues that play to her own self-gratification, as opposed to really serving the people. So, I'll say all in all, we've had a turbulent 4 years, but I think things are looking better for the city.
Now, Daquan, if she were here, she would say it's not fair because crime went up because of the COVID lockdowns. And also crime went up because the court system was locked down. We couldn't prosecute criminals, so don't blame me. To that you say what?
To that I say you are to blame. And don't deflect your reckless and irresponsible leadership or lack thereof, and try to put it on a pandemic that put most people in their homes. And during that time, she chose to be the mayor of TikTok and be the mayor of other national issues instead of choosing to serve and protect the people of Chicago. When she took office 4 years ago, crime was down. And in just 4 years, crime reached generational highs under her leadership. If anyone is to blame, it's her. And she likes to say, "Oh, I inherited a bad situation." But just as you showed us, Larry, that 4 years ago, the Magnificent Mile had a 5% vacancy rate, as opposed to over a 30% vacancy rate now. Like I said, crime was down more than 40% across the board in the city of Chicago. Now it's risen on multiple levels, up over 30%. So this isn't a matter of the fact that she's a woman, the fact that she's Black, and the fact that she didn't get a Time magazine feature like Rahm Emanuel did, who also was a very bad mayor who the city of Chicago forced out. But it's a matter of she was not qualified or competent to lead our city. And I'm glad that after this week, we don't have to talk about her anymore, honestly.
Now, the state county prosecutor, Kim Fox, is that her name?
Yes, that is her name.
She also had soft on crime policies, cashless bail policies. Were those policies supported by Mayor Lightfoot, at least at first?
Absolutely. This is a mayor and a prosecutor who've worked in tandem. They've supported these reckless policies that have allowed for the degradation and destruction of our city, over the last 4 years since 2019. There's no difference in the policy stance that Mayor Lightfoot had and that which Kim Fox now imposes upon our city. And the policies that will truly help our city, the things that we truly need, as we've seen in via CCA's Conversations with Black America tour, are policies that, one, support school choice and access to quality education, two, that promote economic freedom and allows families to keep more of the money that they earn, but then also gives access to entrepreneurship and higher paying careers. Three, a rebuke on the soft on crime policies. The candidate that led in the polls, Paul Vallis, he ran on a hard on crime policy platform, saying that he would support the police. And that platform led him to victory in this election. Why? Because the people of Chicago want policies that will keep them safe, not allow offenders and those who threaten our communities to get a slap on the wrist. But really truly protect the law-abiding citizens, protect their children and their parents and their grandparents, so that people can thrive in their own communities. And when these things are happening, we know that the people of Chicago will be behind their backs.
Daquan, the Chicago PD down 1,000 officers?
Yeah, it's insane. And many of this is because many of these leaves are because of officers resigning from the force. They don't feel supported. They don't feel as though they have the necessary resources that they need to do their jobs accurately. And this is hurting our communities. When you go into a community like the one I'm from on the South Side, and you ask people, what do they need? They're not going to tell you that they need less police. When things happen, they're going to tell you that they need more police. Now, we can talk about the sentiment of how police are viewed, but at the end of the day, Mayor Lightfoot herself, in the video you showed, said that I would ask the police to ask you to leave, right? So when she feels threatened, she's going to call the police. Rationally speaking, just like everyone else in the city, everyone else in the world, when they feel that they are under threat, they call the police. But when you don't support the work that the police do, then you tell those people who are fearing for their lives and their safety, that of their families as well, that you don't matter to me. Who matters to me is the person that's trying to hurt you and your family. And Chicago has had enough of it.
Now, I know you love the show, so be sure to hit that like button. Also, hit subscribe. We're trying to get our subscriptions up. And you see that little donate button? Hit that, throw a little something in the tip jar. Now, scroll down and get on our mailing list, because believe it or not, from time to time, YouTube seems to have an issue with my videos. I don't know why. But if you want to make sure you don't miss any of them, you got to get on our mailing list. And finally, LarryWithEpoch.com, LarryWithEpoch.com. Daquan, over 70% of the Black homicide cases go unsolved.
Yeah. So a couple years back, I was a victim of gun violence in my city. I was shot in my lower abdomen, and just 3 months later, my cousin was killed behind the church we grew up in. And I remember a conversation that my mom and my aunt had with the investigators, who, quite frankly, told us that the police are going to do three things. One, they're going to clock a whole lot of overtime, trying to solve this case. Two, they're going to come up short with any evidence, and they're not going to find who did it. And then three, they're going to figure out who did it, but they're going to wait until each and every person involved is either dead or in jail for a different reason. And that is the type of situation that we are dealing with in Chicago, because police are under-resourced, undertrained, and understaffed. And so many of these homicides, the streets, we know who did it. In my case, the community found out who did it long before the police did. But none of those boys were ever brought to justice because we don't have the necessary leadership to say, hey, families who are hurting, families who are going through this, we're going to support you. Instead, we tell the police, do the bare minimum and just collect a paycheck and go home. Don't do your job because it may be seen as police brutality. It may be seen as something that we don't want to push in our narrative. And we allow crime to run rampant. We allow killers and thieves and others to run rampant freely through our city, knowing that they can do what they want with as much as a slap on the wrist if the police even chooses to find them.
Daquan, I was talking to a buddy of mine this morning. He lives in Chicago, and he had just seen a video I did about the public schools in Baltimore, where 13 public high schools in Baltimore, inner city, 0% of the kids can do math at grade level. Another half a dozen where only 1% can. He said in Chicago, Larry, over 50 public high schools, 0% of the kids can do math at grade level. Daquan, is that true?
Yeah. Unfortunately, that is the reality that we're dealing with in our inner city schools. And mind you, these schools that are underperforming are schools on the south and the west side of the city, schools in predominantly Black and brown neighborhoods. And this is by design. If you go to the north side, their schools are overperforming. Their schools are adequately resourced. Their schools don't have as many walkouts by the teachers unions. Right. As the schools on the south side does. The left likes to play this narrative where they say the teachers unions are standing up for the students. But the reality is that the teachers unions, especially the Chicago teachers union, is only standing up for the best interests of the union itself, not the teachers and not the students. If they were really there for the best interests of the students, then we wouldn't have this situation where a majority of our students are graduating and reading below or writing or even doing math below their level. At this point, you have students who graduate high school in the city of Chicago who, have barely a 1, point GPA. And it's a sad reality of the type of education system we have that prioritizes political party and political benefit over the students.
And that's why your organization supports school choice. Now, Daquan, let's talk about going forward. One of these two people who finished up 1 and 2 in the runoff will become next mayor. What makes you think it's going to get any better?
I would like to say that we can't get any worse than what we've had. And I want to be optimistic. I'm optimistic that is true. However, both of these candidates aren't really a different choice for the people of Chicago. These are both progressive candidates, one more so than the other, who are backed by the Democratic machine that has run Chicago politics for decades, for over a century to speak. However, what we are seeing is that candidate Paul Vallis has embraced a hard on crime policy. He's supportive of the police. He's supportive of the communities. And that is something that does give me a little ray of hope in this situation, is that if he follows through with his promises, follow through with the platform, then we can start to see some real tangible change in our city. More police officers being brought back into the community, being integrated into the daily lives of the residents. And then also we can see more funding for activities so that, families like mine and others can receive justice for the deaths of their loved ones, for the property that is being stolen. And even, we can start to see crime decrease, hopefully dramatically, but realistically, Chicago really doesn't have a good track record of holding our politicians accountable. So while I'm optimistic, I want to be very real and candid and say, it's up to the people of the city of Chicago to hold these politicians accountable. And if they want something different, we have to let go of the lies that the left pushes toward us, that this city only runs when we allow diversity hires to take effect, or when we accept the narrative that it is only if we embrace mass leftist policies that we will be progressive, when that is not the truth. It is not the reality that the city has lived in, and we lived under this regime for long enough.
Daquan, give me the name of your organization again, and how can people contact you, get involved, and donate?
Absolutely. So we're called Concerned Communities for America, or CCA for short. You can go to our website, concerncommunities.org. You can get in touch with us. You can donate. You can learn about some of our initiatives, and you can also reach us on Instagram and Twitter. Instagram at cc_4a, and Instagram, sorry, at Concerned Communities for America.
Last thing, and don't tell me I'm the only one who said this. Have you thought about running yourself?
Yes, honestly, I have. I have.
I know I'm not the only. I know I'm not the only one.
No, you're not. You're not. However, what it's going to take for a conservative like me to run in my city is to truly be on the ground working, changing the hearts and minds of the people long before we get involved in the politics. And that is what I hope to do. I don't want to be another candidate in the future who just gives out empty promises and false narratives. But instead, I want to run on a platform that shows what we've been able to accomplish in the city, how many lives we've been able to change, how many families we've been able to save, and how many students we've been able to propel into a prosperous future long before I decide to put my name on the ballot.
Daquan Bruce, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
God bless. What's this? The great Eldersky has in his baby brown libertarian fingers a pair of my slippers. Indeedy do. These are tan. They come in different colors. They also come in different styles. Call the number on your screen or go to the website. MyPillow.com, promo code ELDER. This, of course, is the product that started it all. It is the My Pillow. Now there's a My Pillow 2.0. Again, you've never slept on anything more comfortable. Go to MyPillow.com, promo code ELDER, or call the number on your screen. And remember, there are over 100 different products that Mike Lindell has for you. This is a 6-pack of towels. Towels that work, meaning they are absorbent. They absorb the water. Isn't that what you want a towel to do? They come in different colors. Again, MyPillow.com, promo code ELDER, or call the number on your screen. Finally, this is the Giza Dream Bedsheet. Finest cotton in the world, found in an area in Egypt known as Giza. Mike went around the world to find the best cotton, and he ended up finding the best cotton in Giza in Egypt. As you can see, mine is white. Well, I am the black face of white supremacy. You're not. So what other color would I get? But you may want a different color. So go to the website, mypillow.com, promo code ELDER, or call the number on your screen. Remember, over 100 different products. MyPillow.com, promo code ELDER, MyPillow.com, promo code ELDER. I am Larry Elder. This has been the Larry Elder Show for Epic Times. Remember, we've got a country to save. I'll see you next time.